by another magistrate. The WBTV Investigates team uncovered court documents alleging the magistrate had relationships with two different criminal defendants with cases in the county. Investigative reporter David Hodges first told you at 6 o'clock about the lack of oversight and accountability for magistrate judges, even as they have the power to make big decisions that could impact your everyday life.
The potential downside is that people can abuse the system.
Well, now David is digging deeper into the people actually serving locally and found a complaint that raises more questions about who is making sure their power is being properly supervised. He joins us now here in studio with more on what he has found here. David.
Yeah, Jamie, we started investigating magistrates in Mecklenburg County, and we learned that the position doesn't require a law degree. In fact, it can include anything in terms of what's pre-qualifying as a few legal classes or even just being a teacher. And magistrates are nominated by the clerk of court, appointed by the senior resident superior court judge, then supervised by the chief district court judge. A lot of layers there. And this complaint that we found alleges that the checks and balances in the system were being ignored or just simply didn't apply because of tenure and inter-office friendships. The complaint filed by Magistrate Cheryl Ivory in 2023 requests Magistrate Ashley Blackwell be removed for her unethical behavior. Blackwell was suspended with pay while the complaint was investigated by the North Carolina Attorney General's office. The complaint alleges Blackwell had romantic relationships with two defendants with cases in Mecklenburg County and a sheriff's deputy assigned to the courthouse. The complaint alleges the relationships and other jobs held by Blackwell, such as being a manager at an ABC liquor store, presented major conflicts of interest and that Blackwell requested special treatment in those cases. It also alleges Blackwell's special relationship with the former chief district judge in Mecklenburg County, Elizabeth Trosh, kept her from being reported for abusing her authority. The magistrate who filed the complaint says she reported these issues to the chief magistrate to try to get Blackwell removed from her position, but no action was taken. A judge who ruled on the complaint found the relationships were real, but did not find clear and convincing evidence that Blackwell improperly used her position to influence case outcomes. The judge did not address the thorny issue of Blackwell's tax returns, which were filed as evidence in the case. According to the complaint, Blackwell listed her romantic partner, Demario Wilson, as her brother and sought tax credits for listing him as a dependent. Wilson is currently incarcerated after pleading guilty to manslaughter and habitual felon charge. Blackwell was reinstated as a magistrate in December of last year. And I reached out to Blackwell, clerk of court Elisa Chingary, and former chief district judge Elizabeth Trosh to request interviews for the story. All of them declined our request for an interview. And if you have a story about a magistrate's decision in your area, you can email me. Let me know at david.hodges@wbtv.com. Jamie?
All right, David, thank you. Coming up next here.